Hey guys, what is going on? This is Ryan Searfoss here with the Going for Two War Room and Armchair Fantasy Show. We are doing a special, just recapping free agency and going over all the moves that happened in case you missed them and kind of the fantasy implications. We're going to start off today with the newest ones that just went down. That was Melvin Gordon going to the Broncos. I think it's a good move for both sides. We kind of expected the Broncos to add a running back because they had Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman there for a reason when they got him. Freeman didn't really work out the way they expected. So Melvin Gordon is the perfect hammer to the speed, to go to the speed with Philip Lindsay. It may be a little dip in production for Lindsay, but I think long run it keeps him fresh for being he's a smaller back and will still give him that RB2 potential. Pretty solid in the flex spot. As for Gordon, it'll be kind of similar to his role he had with the Chargers, where he was splitting time with Austin Eckler off on most passing downs and kind of getting all those red zone carries. All in all, I think it's a good move for the team. And as far as the Chargers with replacing Gordon, it's something they'll probably address in the draft to pair with Austin Eckler. Other big move that went down today was Todd Gurley going to the Falcons. Personally, I love this landing spot for him. They've always had a good running game with Devontae Freeman when he's healthy, and they've been a team that's been and they just battled injuries at the running back position over and over again. Obviously, Todd Gurley has a history of being a little bit beaten up, but man, if he's healthy, he's the most talented back they've had, and it should be huge fantasy potential. He'd be somebody borderline. I'd be in that top 12 range who I think you can get a discount could be a big move for your league to help you get to that next level. Because I think his ADP is still going to be around that third round range. And as for the Chargers, that's a huge hole for them to fill. I don't think Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown are the answers there at the running back position. Being they're both kind of change of pace back with Henderson, there could be a team that picks up another guy in the draft, look for them, maybe that second round range to somebody. They go into the quarterback position with some of the deals some of the other ones we saw yesterday. We saw the Bears make a trade for Nick Foles. Foles should be the starter there over Trubisky. He has more experience. He showed he's playing big time games and not really hurt the team where they're just playing to survive. I think he's an upgrade there for everybody in the room. I think he upgrades the receivers. Especially for somebody like an Allen Robinson. He had the connection before with Alshon Jeffrey in Philly, and him going to that big receiver and Allen Robinson could be also big, as well as the tight end. They picked up Jimmy Graham, so we've seen Foles go heavy to the tight ends in Philly as well. So it could be a boost for Jimmy Graham, who I wasn't as high on until that move went down. I still think it's kind of tight end purgatory there. But if he does separate himself from the group, it could be big. Phillip Rivers for the Colts. I think it's a great fit for Rivers. They have a nice fit of weapons, and more importantly in the weapons, they have a great offensive line, so keep him upright. We've seen years now where he's just gotten beaten up for the Chargers behind that line. Even though he's had good weapons, he hasn't been able to keep upright so he can hit them that way. This should be nice for T.Y. Hilton. We saw him struggle with Brissett there. They've never supported two top 24 receivers, so that doesn't really bode well for Paris Campbell and the rest of the court. But I think it's going to help the backs a lot with Marlon Mack and Naheem Hines. Hopefully, if all signs point to, Hines is going to take that Austin Eckler role for them, which is really good for his fantasy production because he is a fantastic receiver. He split time between the two positions in college, so that should be an up in his fantasy value, who you're going to find him super cheap. The big one for the quarterback position, though, which we were all waiting to see, was Tom Brady going to the Bucs. I think it's a huge upgrade for Brady. I know he's done well in Belichick's system for years and years and is away from Belichick, but from a fantasy standpoint alone, Arians is going to have him sling the ball like we haven't seen him do in years. And he was thrown to Julian Edelman and who's who scrubs last year. And Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are top-tier wide receivers. yes, last year and for the prior years, we've seen Jameis Winston just throw the ball to him, force it to him with no regard. But there was also the accuracy missing. He started coverage, throwing turnovers, which got them less time of possession and less attempts. I think Brady's going to get the ball to them. He's going to put it where it needs to be. He's not going to force it. So where they may lose a little bit in volume, they're going to make up with efficiency. And I think that could be better for scoring and getting that touchdown upside. In theory, I hope it works out for O.J. Howard as well. Brady's had top-tier tight ends who produced with Gronk, and that was the focal point of his offense. I don't know if it's a lock because we've seen him make other people work. I think a lot of the reason why Gronk was so dominant, other than the fact Brady went to him, was Gronk was just a different tier of tight end, and that doesn't mean that he's automatically going to focus on that position. But I think it is an upgrade for Howard, and I'm trusting the upside on it. Other quarterback news, we saw Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott both signed, so it's business as usual with them. We haven't seen any. And then the big news we saw, which we kind of hit on Tuesday's show, hopefully you caught it. If not, definitely go check it out. We had a great guest with Miguel Chapman on there. We had the Arizona trade with DeAndre Hopkins in a fourth for David Johnson and 2021 second. In all reality, the trade was bad, but it has huge fantasy implications for a lot of people. Probably the most other than those quarterback moves. Biggest one, DeAndre Hopkins. It should be kind of the focal point of the trade. DeAndre Hopkins, it should be kind of a horizontal move for him where he's still getting a ton of volume in the offense. Kyler Murray has that big body guy to throw to. And while he may not have the same chemistry that he had with Deshaun Watson, they're going to make up for it because they're going to one of the highest paced teams in the league for pace of play and getting the ball out. For Kyler Murray, he hit the jackpot. I mean, this is one of the most dynamic receivers in the league, and he has a ton of weapons now. And last year we saw the trajectory going up, and now we gave him one of the top wide receivers cash for it. He should be a top 3 dynasty quarterback and top 5 this year. Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. I think Larry Fitzgerald is kind of similar. I think this helps Kirk in the long run, though, because he's a bigger dynasty after that. And Kirk is a young receiver who's he's a prototypical number one. He's a guy who's going to work the underneath routes, run after the catch, and has the ability to break a big play. I think Hopkins opens up the field for him. Kirk's not a guy who's going to beat double coverage, and we don't want to see him in that. And Hopkins should take all of that away. And a lot of his production is, and with the way the pace of play is for the Cardinals, there's going to be plenty of balls to be thrown around, and he should still get a nice bit of volume. He's somebody I'm going to have locked into that wide receiver 2 range with upside from week to week. We've seen other receivers do very well with DeAndre Hopkins. Will Fuller was a star that are healthy, and I think could get even more production. With the Texans players, David Johnson's obviously an upgrade from whatever hodgepodge of running backs they had last year. As long as he's on the field and healthy, it's definitely a good thing. DJ's now the primary back. He's not facing battling for carries with Kenyon Drake, who looked great last year. And overall, I think it's an upgrade. But if you have David Johnson and you got somebody excited for it, I think it's a sell right now because anytime someone's on a new team, it brings that buzz going. And David Johnson is getting up there in age. I think if you can get rid of him for a good price in that first-round pick range for Dynasty, go for it. If you're not getting an offer you don't like, just hold because he could be somebody you move in the season when he is producing. Poor Deshaun Watson, he just lost one of the best receivers in the league, and he's thrown to a bunch of number 2 and 3 receivers now. I think it's a huge blow for his production, but it's not part where I'm going to go completely crazy on it, where he was the QB3 for me before. I might move him to the 5 or 6 range. He still brings you a ton of running upside, and he's still a good enough quarterback where he can throw the ball around and spread it to get guys open. With Fuller Stills, QT, it's kind of business before them. They may lose a little bit in where they're getting covered more, but I think they're going to get a little more volume. They also picked up Randall Cobb, who should fit nicely. I think he's somebody who could hurt Kiki Qt's value a little bit because they play similar roles. Other wide receiver making the big move was Stephon Diggs going to the Bills. Love this move for the Bills and Stephon Diggs. A lot of people were kind of leery about it just because of the fact that Josh Allen is the most accurate quarterback, and we've seen things and we've seen concerns with that. But Kirk Cousins in Minnesota wasn't really throwing around the yard either. They are a run-heavy offense, and they were dig and dunk when out of the passing game. At least here with Diggs, who's shown the ability to have the big play potential, you can get that out of Josh Allen because he has no problem taking chances, throwing it downfield. I think we're going to see a lot more air yard attempts for Stephon Diggs than we saw before. As for Josh Allen, this is an obvious upgrade. He actually has himself a number one receiver now, and Diggs and Brown should really open things up. I love this for that whole team as a whole, and I think it's an upgrade for everything on the Bills' offense. As for the Vikings, a little bit of downgrade. Adam Thielen's going to get all the coverage his way. They really don't have anyone else in the receiving core. Hopefully they pick somebody up in the draft to spread it out a little bit. It's going to be heavy on the running backs. You're going to see a lot more carries from them. And I don't think it's going to go as much towards Dalvin because Dalvin had a ton of carries last year. We're going to see that go maybe a little bit more towards Alexander Madison, giving him some fantasy potential, as well as the tight end group. I think are going to be the most impacted for it. I think Dalvin is business usual, and it's a little downtick for Thielen, but everyone else, they could get more volume. As for some of the guys who stayed put, Derrick Henry and Kenyon Drake both got tags, and I think it's good for them. They're both obviously their lead backs. Kenyon Drake, this takes away some of the concern from him. Wouldn't be surprised if they do add another running back, though, to keep his carries down, but similar to the receivers we talked about with Arizona, their pace of play is going to keep volume there. And Kenyon Drake showed the big play potential where he doesn't need 25-plus carries to have a fantasy impact. A.J. Green got the franchise tag for Cincinnati, which is a fantastic thing for the incoming quarterback. Hopefully everyone's predicting, as of now, it's Joe Burrow. Could be a little bit different, but keeping a guy like that, if he's healthy, is huge. A.J. Green is a focal point alpha receiver, and he's going to make life easier for a young quarterback. And I think it helps all the other receivers in the group because he does keep them safe. Some of the smaller moves we saw were Jordan Howard of the Dolphins. I think he's going to be part of a committee. And then, not really small, but Drew Brees also re-signed, and I think that's business as usual for the Falcons. One other big move we saw was Austin Hooper going to the Browns. This movie kind of confused me because I thought David Njoku was their guy. But with David Njoku there and Hooper, I think it's Hooper's job now. They wouldn't have spent the kind of money they did, making him the highest paid tight end in the league, not to use him. They may be running more two tight end sets, but the ball's going to be going towards Hooper. He's reliable. He has great hands. He knows how to get open. He's that safety blanket that Baker Mayfield needs. Baker had that in college with Mark Andrews, and this will give him that now. For the receivers, I think it helps out. Maybe pull some of the coverages off them because they had a hard time getting the ball last year. And I think that offense is just going to be an upgrade. Filling in for Hooper, the Falcons traded for Hayden Hurst from the Ravens. He's a guy who flashed a little bit last year when he had the chance, but was just buried on a depth chart with the emergence of Mark Andrews. If he has the starting role there, which right as of now it looks like he will, I think he's a guy who will get volume. He can fill in the Austin Hooper role. He may not be the receiver that he is, but he's a really good athlete. He can block. He has good hands. He can stretch the field at the tight end position. So he could be a late round, don't get a top 5 guy. It's just taking a necessary risk to hopefully have it blow up. Other than that, guys, let's try to hit everything really quick. This is my first time alone on a podcast, so please bear with me. If it was a little bit off, but I will be back with the Going for Two War Room, and make sure to follow me at Ryan Surfoss at Fantasy FB Connect. Y'all have a good night.